observing humans, observing social dynamics. Honestly, man, if you just sit in a room and be quiet and just look at people speak with one another and look at all the things they do, it's so strange, man. So strange. I've written some things here I want to share with you more of the things I've been thinking. So life, if you haven't noticed, man, is largely social. So life is made and comprised up of social games. So notice, man, we're not really real with each other a lot of the time. We're not really saying what we really mean. You want to observe people and notice how they speak as egos. They don't really speak as their soul or their real self. They don't speak from that part. Like every day, man, I go on walks, right? And I like to say hi to like almost everyone. And what I find so interesting is sometimes when I say hello to someone and they say hi back, like a neighbor or someone like that, sometimes I can feel in the energy and vibration of their communication that they're not really saying hello to me. They're like just doing like default neighbor response, hello. They're just speaking from that default ego mind response. They're not even responding, they're reacting. Not necessarily as like an ego. Again, it's not bad. It's just not from the soul. Interestingly, man, I'm not even critiquing people or humans or egos. I'm just sharing my observation and my fascination with how things seem to be socially. It's just interesting, you know. I want to share this with you as well, man. When you can, observe people, but just observe them with intelligent awareness. You're not observing them with a kind of like a judgy ego. You're not judging them. Notice you can just observe. And it's this place that I want you to be from or observe from. And when you're observing them, I want you to notice the following: social games, humor, and inauthenticity. When you start to be aware of this, you realize that pretty much all social communication is this. Do you know another word for it, man? Another word for it is bullshit. That's what it really is, man. When you start to observe what socializing is, it's just bollocks. Now, I say this with like real emotion and passion because I'm finally breaking through into what's real about social stuff. But check this out as well, man. When you notice this stuff, it will get you to ask questions like, why do people not say what they really mean? Or why do people laugh and joke so much? Or why do people deflect, divert, and joke so much? Or why do people fill the space always and not just like sit there and eye gaze? Essentially, as you become aware, and even more than that, as you become awareness, you start to experience people and social dynamics from a place of emptiness and from a place of no conditioning. So you're very intuitive now. You can pick up on what's not true. You have a real strong radar for inauthenticity. It's almost like you've landed on Earth as this higher consciousness alien. And now you're just sitting there and you're observing these humans just bullshitting each other all the time. And you're like, why do they do this? But again, it's really important for me to say, man, you're not judging here. Notice that you may have a part of you that does judge other people for being inauthentic, for playing social games, for not really like speaking their real personal truth. But you don't have to be in this part of yourself as you're experiencing them. You can experience as awareness, as emptiness, as presence. And the real reason this is so good is because you get to show yourself that you can experience ego or just humans or just people, but you don't have to do it from a place of egoic judgment. It's actually possible to be with people and to observe life, but to not judge it. Because for a long time, man, you might be on this path and you might hear these lofty ideals of, being awareness and just sort of being with life. And to be completely honest, man, you might just not be there. What I'm coming to understand is you have different parts of you and you can experience something through different parts of yourself. What I'm empowering you to do is to observe and be in observational awareness. And as you do that, just notice the games that we play. Notice really the games that you play. Because if you really want to do the work, you turn all of this in on yourself and you realize you are the ultimate bullshitter. You are the source of this inauthenticity that you see in the world. If you're condemning it or judging it, to be honest with you, man, I have for a long, long time, you're not quite seeing things as clearly as you can. It's best to actually meet it where it's at. So in other words, consciously engage with the social games, but also if you really want to, you can start to love the game and play with freedom. This means you can sort of play, but not really by the rules. So, if someone asks how you are, if you wanted to, you could just blow them away with personal authenticity and truth. What's great about it is a lot of the time, people are smart. And when you break this social norm by giving a different response that is almost too real and very heavily authentic, they know and they almost respect you. They're like, thanks, man, for, really showing me who you are. So you can play around with this and you can occasionally, with fun and with love, deliberately break the rules and just be completely authentic. And what I'm starting to see in my own life, man, is these social games and rules, they are negotiated. They are co-created. We make them together. But when you're just so living in your own reality, you almost don't even participate in those social games. You don't even have to. I used to take the perspective that the social games are there and then, you can, like I said earlier, mindfully engage with them. But now I'm starting to realize that even that itself is just more conditioning. Why can't you just be free? And you can. The only thing is, it can be a little bit jarring. Sometimes for others, but even for yourself. Because you notice that what you're putting down is not picked up. Or when you're being free and without this social, mask and stuff, and all this social conditioning, sometimes it's not really received, at all. Sometimes people don't even, process you or experience you because they don't even that level of truth isn't even on their radar, or they don't let themselves experience that level of truth, because if they were to really see you on some level, they would have to be experiencing that for themselves, about themselves. So it's not always that you could say your authenticity lands, and really you need to let go of whether you land with people or not, or whether you resonate with people or not. Regardless, just take joy in seeing through all of the games and all of the BS. And even then you start to not call it BS because you see it as perfect. You just see it as how humans are with one another. The more people, the more, I'm going to use the word BS, the more BS. The reason that is because the more people, the easier it is to hide, the less truth. Notice that when you're in big groups of people, it can be difficult to really be yourself. And the reason that is because people, a lot of the time, are egos. And so when you have lots of people, you actually have an accumulation of egoic energy. Now, I say that, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you can experience a sense of unity and oneness. Maybe you've been in like the middle of a chant or a crowd, or like you're at a concert or something, or you're with like a group of your friends and like you're all laughing at the same time, or you're all tripping or something, or you're all just really in the present moment together. So it's not always the case that the more people, the lower the consciousness, but a lot of the time it can be, at least on a relative level. If you yourself start to adopt more of an absolute perspective or an absolute consciousness, you will then see everyone as one and everyone as God. But on the relative level, if you're trying to be authentic with large amounts of people, listen, man, I'll be honest, just notice social games, notice lack of truth, notice inauthenticity. Over time, you just start to accept it. You start to meet it where it's at. You stop trying to change it. You maybe even start to love it. But by the time that you start to love it, you are not your ego. By the time you're loving all of this stuff, you are spirit, or God, or truth, or reality. So, if it helps, at some point, if you really want to accept the world, you've got to drop yourself. You've got to become a spirit. And the good news is you are already spirit. You've just got to drop what is not you. And you've got to raise the volume or frequency of that spirit so that it's really real for you. In other words, you've got to raise your consciousness. Okay, my friend. Take care. I love you. And as always, man. Peace.